Hey there and welcome. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed, totally frazzled, or just, burned out, then this is for you. Today, we're going right back to the beginning with a super simple step-by-step guide to understanding what stress really is. Let's get into it. Does any of this sound familiar? Meet Blaine. He's trying to juggle exams, relationship drama, and work, all at the same time. He's exhausted, his mind is racing, and he feels like he's stuck in a hole he can't climb out of. That feeling of pressure coming from every direction, yeah, a lot of us have been there. It's pretty much the classic definition of being stressed. But to really get a handle on it, we've got to understand it first. So here's our game plan for this little tutorial. First, we'll nail down a clear definition. Then, we'll look at the difference between good and bad stress. After that, we'll break down the three main types, figure out where it all comes from, and finally, talk about your next step. All right, let's jump into step one, getting a really solid handle on what we're actually talking about when we use that word stress. Turns out there are two key definitions that really fit together perfectly. First up, we've got the medical or biological point of view. So when your brain senses any kind of threat, it could be a big work deadline or even just a sudden loud noise, it flips a switch. That signal zips down to your adrenal gland, which then floods your system with hormones like cortisol. Now, here's the really fascinating part. In high doses, that cortisol can actually weaken your immune system. That's a huge piece of the puzzle, right? It explains why we so often get sick when we're under a ton of pressure. Now let's look at it from a different angle, the psychological one. A researcher named Richard Lazarus put it this way. Stress is the feeling you get when you believe that the demands you're facing are way bigger than your ability to handle them. So the key takeaway here is it's not just about what's happening to you. It's about your own perception of whether you've got what it takes to cope. And it's that feeling of being overwhelmed that triggers the whole biological reaction we just talked about. See how they're connected? And that brings us to a really interesting idea. We usually think of stress as this big, bad villain we need to get rid of. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? It turns out not all stress is created equal. This idea was really pushed forward by Hans Selye, one of the absolute pioneers in stress research, way back in 1956. He argued that stress itself isn't the problem. What really matters is the situation and, more importantly, how we see it. It just goes to show you how powerful our own mindset can be. So let's break that down. On one side, you've got beneficial stress. Think about the buzz you feel before a big presentation that pushes you to be your best, or the pressure of a deadline that fuels your creativity. That's stress acting as a motivator. But then, on the other side, you've got detrimental stress. This is the kind that comes from constant failure, humiliation,